Hello there, I've got one of these lovely little Centec 2A milling machines, which I'm very happy with, but the dials, X, Y and Z dials, the engraving of them has got very indistinct over the years. I think you can see that the lines particularly are quite difficult to see, particularly when they're on the machine. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to re-engrave those lines using a Dremel tool set up on my lathe, and also my rotary table set up on the spindle of the lathe. So what I've done, I've set up my cordless Dremel tool on an angle bracket on the top slide in my lathe, and I'm using a tiny engraving cutter in the Dremel to engrave the lines onto the dial, which I've made an arbor for. The engraving cutter is only 0.3 of a millimeter cutter. Just zoom out, so you might be interested in the way I'm using my rotary table. It's set up, mounted onto the spindle of the lathe like that. I've made sure that I've unplugged the power from the lathe. And some time ago I converted my rotary table into stepper motor drive. I usually use it on the milling machine, so I've got the actual controller for it up there near my milling machine. There you go, on the wall. And I'm using the division controller from an English company called World of Ward, and yeah, it seems really well made, and definitely works well. So I've set that up for 100 divisions, ready to carry on engraving the dials. And come around again slowly. I've set the top slide, and I've used the DTI to get the angle exactly correct for these dials, and I've made a note of how far I've got to go in for each of the different lengths of lines. So there's two lengths. I think you can just about see where I've engraved some of them. And that. I'm actually using the cross slide to increase the depth of cut. Well, I found that if I just set it to about 6 thou, then I don't actually need to increase the depth of cut. 6 thou on one pass seems to work okay. Anyway, I'll set the camera up on a tripod, and I'll show you one of the cuts that I'm doing. So I've got the camera set up now, and switch the Dremel on to about number 4, and then all I do is I advance the top side in to the correct depth, and then back again. Then rotate it with the division controller. And then go in again. And then out. And using the division controller, it certainly speeds things up with the rotary table compared with using the normal plates and lever. So after sanding off the burrs with a bit of 600 wet and dry on the lathe, then I just filled the lines up with black paint carefully, and then again very carefully sanded it off, and there you go. So quite pleased with that, much more legible than before.